Welcome to Mountains Made Low, where we help our listeners to encounter the love of God and live well in the modern world. I am Dennis Mueller.
And I am Christine Reagan.
And today we are going to do a Coffee Talk episode.
Yeah.
It's
been,
about that time.
10 episodes or so?
Yeah, we try to do them, I guess, every double-digit number, like 11, 22, 33. That's how it works,
Yeah, that's
right?
how numbers work.
That's how numbers work, okay. So,
how far could you go? Keep going.
Right.
And I look so forward to these. They're very relaxing. When I have to edit these back, it's enjoyable.
Well, because I guess it's a little bit informal, a little bit more casual.
And I feel like I'm on like high theology mode a lot between the work that we do here and teaching.
So you like to dumb it down.
I do, for my own mental health sake. No, it's nice to think about things that are just a little. It's not that we've had actually some pretty theological conversations and coffee talks, but to not have to prepare the same way,
Or at all,
or
in
at
my
all.
case.
In your case. Yeah, I have some notes. Dennis has nothing. Dennis rolled out of bed 5 minutes ago.
I just looked at the questions 5 minutes ago.
It's going to show.
We'll see how it goes.
So dedicated to his posts here. All right, what are we starting with today?
I think we'll start with the question that you have proposed. They're all your questions, by the way. I don't think I have any.
You said that last time, too. You're like, I didn't write any of these.
I might think of a question as we go through this. Okay. Well, you did spring this on me the other day and just said, hey, let's get together tomorrow and let's do a coffee talk episode. As if I'm just going to drop everything and just like, okay, Christine,
and guess what?
Let's go.
You dropped everything.
I did drop
and here
everything,
we sit.
except time needed to take a look at this in advance. So
you're still on vacation mode. You're still. Has this been a tough week for you?
No,
you're
it's like I never went away on vacation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. Thank you. So, what is your favorite Catholic movie and why?
Catholic movie.
And it can't be The Mission.
The Mission. It's not that The Mission's a bad movie. It's that it's just over mentioned.
Maybe in your mind. I don't.
It has a fantastic ending, though.
The only time that I hear that movie mentioned is in conversations with you. You bring it up all the time.
I've never brought up The Mission once on this podcast.
Not in this podcast, but in conversation when we talk about things like
this.
Well,
The Mission has a very climactic ending when the priest is doing a Eucharistic procession and then he's shot down. I mean, that's gonna. Did you even remember that it ended that way?
No.
That's a beautiful image. I mean, he goes out there knowing he's gonna die. Like his last responsibility is to lead these people.
And he does it.
Wow. Once again, do you have any feelings that rush through your veins? Just the most cold-blooded person. All right, what is your favorite?
Well, you didn't say your Catholic.
I know. I don't want to go first.
No, I am good. I'm asking the questions.
Fine. All right. My favorite Catholic movie is it's a movie that came out probably 15 years ago. It's called Of Gods and Men. Did you hear about it?
No.
Okay, because my next qualifier is going to elicit the loudest groan from you in the world. It's a French film.
Oh, jeez.
but it was.
Is it subtitled?
It is subtitled.
Yeah, forget
but
hard pass.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
It is. It's not a funny movie at all, but it's a French film that is about a real life story. So in like 95, 96, it's a movie about the Trappist monks that lived in Algeria and ministered to the Muslim people. And there was a civil war that broke out, and the like fundamentalist militant Muslims killed these 7 French Trappist monks for their faith. So they were martyrs. See, not laughing now, are you, buddy?
No, I'm listening.
And
completely engrossed.
It's a true story. It's a beautiful film. There's something about the French language that is really it's not like some people would find foreign films off-putting because you're torn between watching the image and then watching the subtitles. I never had a problem with that in this movie. It actually has some very recognizable faces from like American films actors that just happened to be French. They were in this movie, but I think one of them was like a very famous Bond villain from, one of those James Bond's films. So it's a really, really beautiful movie. And the climax of the movie, if I could try to sell it for just a second, is...
And ruin it for anybody else who might be interested.
No, this doesn't ruin it because everybody knows how it ends. They all die. But, and actually in real life, their captors and their murderers were never found. So I think the bodies were found eventually, but nobody knows who killed them. It's all very sad, but they had a chance to leave Algeria and they chose not to, knowing kind of how their life was going to end, which is, I mean, it's so Christological, But there's a moment where they're sitting at a table and they have like a Last Supper moment, and one of the priests comes in. He brings like an old boom box in, and he plays the key theme from Swan Lake. Do you know that piece?
Yeah.
And he pours wine for all the monks.
That's nice.
And the music from Swan Lake plays, and they kind of go through all the stages of grief. There's not a word that's spoken. All you hear is the Swan Lake music, and you see them move from kind of disbelief to sadness to joy to laughing, back to all that. They go through all the feelings, and it's all through the time frame of that very famous piece that everybody would recognize.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of contemplating their death, each other, the work that they've done. I could not recommend this movie more highly. So it's great. Of Gods and Men.
Good.
Beautiful.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll put that right up with there on my to-do list with Man for All Seasons.
Man for All Seasons. That it almost was going to be a Man for All Seasons. I love that movie. This movie is it's just a different kind of film. To me, it's almost more Catholic in some ways, because it's the blood of the martyrs, right? The seat of the church. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And the abbot in this movie, you see him, and I think this is all a real life tribute. He studied the Quran so diligently, just so he would be able to minister to those people in a way that they could understand. And there's a lot of back and forth between him and some of the Muslim people, him and the fundamentalists who are ultimately going to arrest him and kill him. And it's just, beautiful film.
It's good.
Yeah, there's a moment where one of the aggressors says, "You don't have a choice," and he goes, "I do." And I love it. It's great. It's great. So there's so many moments where people think, "Oh, I had no choice but to do this." When it comes to the moral life, you always have a choice. You always have a choice to choose love. And that's what these monks ultimately, they chose to die for the people that they loved, that they were ministering to.
For those who are regular listeners, I just want to clarify that I have seen A Man for All Seasons, but it's been ages since I've seen it. I do remember some of the things that you talk about in that film.
Okay.
But
this is what you call backpedaling.
No, but unlike you, I'm not watching it every weekend.
I don't watch it every weekend. Things matter to me in this world.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. So maybe every other weekend,
okay.
Every chance that you get. But no, I don't watch it.
Okay. Well, have you watched any Catholic film that you have loved?
Yeah, I was going to throw out to you, just to top your little French thing, to show you that I am a little cultured. Yeah. And I think this one was subtitled too, but did you ever hear of Babette's Feast?
I've heard of it, and I know it was like Pope Francis's favorite movie, or so the media claimed. Who knows?
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I have heard good things about it.
I've seen it once or twice, but that's not what I was going to say. So I'm not gonna reference that one. But we're
giving people options of different things they can include on their movie night. By the way, Of Gods and Men, not a movie for kids. It's violent. Just putting that out there too.
Okay. To be honest with you, the one that probably had the greatest impression on me growing up was really Jesus of Nazareth. The one from the 1970s.
Really?
Yeah. I just remember growing up watching that as a kid. It was. I remember when it came out. It was a big thing with our family. We sat back. We all watched it. Each episode. I can't remember if it was. It seemed to me like it was like almost, when it was on TV, it was almost like a 3-day event or something, similar to Moses, how they would break that up, back in the day, and then eventually they just showed it like on a Sunday afternoon or something like that for the 3 or 4 hours that it is. I forget, but I do remember that distinctly, watching that as a family, and I just loved the whole bringing the gospel to life. Mm-hmm. And I often
is Jesus British in that movie? Is that the one where he has like a British accent?
A little bit, okay. Yeah.
No disrespect. That's fine.
No.
It's very 70s.
Right, but and it is. I look back on it today, and when you see how cinema has evolved and acting has evolved, it's still a good film for its day. I think of having had the chance to watch like movies like The Passion, which was, I probably, to be honest with you, I found that to be a lot more moving than Jesus of Nazareth.
Interesting.
And it was far more succinct too. But the one thing that gets me, I would say probably today, in terms of modern Catholic shows, that The Passion would probably supplant my liking of Jesus of Nazareth.
Okay.
But what I really liked was there was some humor in Jesus of Nazareth. I always kind of remember when he builds the table, because everybody reclines when
Okay.
they eat.
Yeah.
He builds the table, and it's like this great invention. And his mother and Mary says that'll never catch on, or something along those lines. And again, it kind of brings a chuckle. But the one scene that really, really gets me, more so than even the crucifixion and everything, and the scourging, which is very emotional in that film, is when he falls. And Mary is watching him as he's journeying towards Calvary. He falls, and Mary immediately has a flashback of him running as a boy and falling down. Right.
Wow.
And
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah. Ooh, that gets me. Like I get choked up right away. I don't know if it's a parent thing or whatever, but no parent wants to see their kids suffer and everything, and that really resonated with me. But I would probably say in modern terms it'd definitely be The Passion.
Did you see The Passion like when it came out?
Yeah.
I didn't
I went
see it probably
with a
till-
good priest friend who recently died.
I probably only saw it maybe 5 years ago for the first time.
Oh, for the first time.
For the very first time, because there was something about, number one, I know people who saw it and then like it was so emotionally taxing for them that I was like, what is in this movie that, I mean, I know, but I was almost worried about my reaction to seeing it in such a realistic form. And then even have it, and I'm glad I watched it. I probably don't think I needed to take that much time in between when it came out. It came out like, what, 20 years ago? Didn't it? Came out in 2005, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. You watch it, it's so gruesome when you watch it, and then you have another thought of nothing could probably compare to what it was actually like.
Well, this is true, but I always said in my own mind and even in my own ministry that I always felt that if people could really, it's one thing to read the gospel and the passion narrative. Mm-hmm. It's another to see that and experience that visually. And Jesus of Nazareth, when it came out, I mean, it was huge for its time. A wonderful movie, but it really didn't get into, I mean, the scourging, the carrying the cross, crucifixion. It was done in a dramatic fashion, and the violence of all of that was really minimized and everything, because that just wasn't the genre of the time to do all that stuff. But when The Passion came out, and they did do a little, they went to extremes with the scourging. There were things that were not accurate in the brutality of that that was displayed on the film. The Romans never would have done anything across his chest, because had they killed him, the scourgers would have been put to death. So they did take some liberties with all of that stuff. But I always felt that if we could really visualize and picture that for really what it was, I don't know how you couldn't be drawn into a deeper response to God's love. Right? Yeah. When you witnessed firsthand and understood firsthand what it was that he went through just for love of you. Like, how could you not respond to that?
Yeah, and I wasn't against necessarily the brutality of the depiction.
Yeah, I'm not
of
saying
passion.
you were, but
it was. I had to just think, as bad as this seems, it's still a movie.
Yeah.
And so what the real life experience of that, there's nothing that could even compare.
Yeah,
any
pale.
representation is going to
pale by comparison. Yeah.
But I still think it's good. It's a good reminder. I think it's a necessary reminder.
Yeah.
For people.
The beautiful thing is that it did evoke that emotional response.
Yeah.
It evoked it in me when I saw it, and evoked it in others. And I think that's why people really loved that movie so much, because of that visceral response that they had, which was really connected very much to the love of God, whether they realized it or not.
Yeah. I'm thinking about all these Catholic movies. I'm like, we should just do an episode on Catholic movies.
Well, maybe later.
You mentioned Moses, and I'm like, why are we not talking about the Ten Commandments? There is an episode there about all these different. There's the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
Spiritual movie. It's not a Catholic movie, but it's a religious film. The Robe. Have you seen The Robe?
No.
Have you seen? I'm not saying all these are good, but have you seen Exodus with Christian Bale?
No.
Okay.
Well, there's a boatload. I mean, there's
a boatload, but there's ones that like come to mind. Have you ever heard of people do like a Mount Rushmore, where you give like your top 4? Like, if you had to put a couple on a pedestal.
No, that might be a good idea. We might be able to do like, because I'm sure if you just do a search for best Catholic movies,
You're going to have to watch the
you're gonna get a
movies
list.
so we can.
I might have to watch some of them.
Okay.
Some of them I might look at and realize, oh, I did see that, and I just don't remember seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
That's that would be exciting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be good.
We'll get back to that.
Unlike you, I don't cling to these things after I see them.
I don't cling to them. They offer something. If you treat everything like, oh, I can learn something from this, or this can be a valuable experience for better or for worse, then things, you let things change you in the ways that you need to be changed.
Right.
And you need to be changed.
Well, I mean, but once I've experienced that and I've been changed, I don't necessarily know that I need to see it again.
You cannot be this cold. You cannot be this cold. Let's move on. What do we got? What do you think about the term LGBT Catholic? People will identify themselves as such.
I think that that's the important distinction, because you have people identifying themselves via those terms.
Do you think people should do that?
No. When you take a look at the church language that it uses in its documents, it's not, to my knowledge, it is not referring to or classifying people in that fashion. They use terms like same-sex attraction, all of those things. Talk about gender
but nobody
ideologies.
calls themselves a same-sex attracted Catholic.
Well, you shouldn't be calling yourself anything. That's part of the problem, I think.
I would agree.
Because when we begin to label ourselves by our traits or our characteristics, right away we're causing division. They're identifying themselves by something that they do.
Yeah, I don't know any other area where you identify yourself or you define yourself by who you're sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
I don't know any other area of life where we do that. And we don't do it for people who would not define themselves as gay or lesbian or transgender or something like that.
Right.
So there's no straight Catholic resources out there.
Right.
There's just Catholic. Like if you were gay and sitting in front of me, I wouldn't say, "Oh, Dennis is a gay Catholic." I'd say Dennis is a Catholic and I'm a Catholic.
Right.
You're right. It's creating division where it doesn't need to be. What I do think is appropriate, where I do think we need to have resources and ministries directed towards people who might be encountering or struggling or engaging in certain kinds of things. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not against resources.
No, neither am I. But, I think we need to have resources because we're ministering to people. And so whether you're ministering to somebody who's poor and impoverished, whether you're ministering to somebody who is affluent, whether you're ministering to somebody who's educated or uneducated, black, white, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. You're going to need resources in order to be able to minister to their needs, because we all have varying needs.
Right.
It's the needs that we're
And what you're going
to.
through, you may have needs directly addressing those particular
That's right.
circumstances.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I agree.
What do you think about when they say in Center City, we have some parishes, let's say, that might cater more towards people who would define themselves as an LGBT Catholic, and they might call it the gay parish.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's not just here in Center City, but
sure.
I mean, you have those type of churches that have and parishes that have arisen all over, and again, the goal of the parish is to minister to its people. And when you begin to do things where you get classified as, oh, it's the gay parish, then my concern as somebody who's in ministry is, are you ministering to all of your people, or have you carved out a niche for one reason or another? Sometimes it's just agenda driven. It's complicated. I mean, it is complicated because if it's like, for example, if a church exists in, like here in Philadelphia, there's a whole section called the Gayborhood, and you have other places similar to that in other cities, and that's a whole nother issue. But if you have a parish that's located in that area, some of the people who take on leadership in the parish might be directing the focus and the resources of the parish to meet the needs of its community, which it should be doing. I mean, if you have a high population of poor individuals in a parish, well, you're going to be operating soup kitchens and offering sandwiches and catering things to the homeless because that's where your population is. And it should be doing those type of things. So it should be doing ministry and outreach to individuals who are struggling with same-sex attraction or gender identity or whatever else that might be in the gay neighborhood. But sometimes what happens is when we come into with leadership positions, we bring those ideologies with us, then the church begins to take a particular slant. And I'm always suspect when you begin to see the slant, whether it's something with gender ideology, same-sex attraction, or social justice, or whatever it might be. I'm always a little leery when you see those types of slants because I begin to suspect whether we're being true to our Catholic faith.
Yeah, I was just
Right?
about to say that because the
Yeah.
resources often are, we'll tell you why this is okay.
Yeah.
We'll tell you why you can continue to do, if we're talking about something
Yeah.
that would be objectively sinful in terms of the Catholic faith,
Yeah.
then yeah, we'll tell you why that's not a problem. And you can keep being that person or continuing that behavior
Right.
within our community here.
I mean, I know people who have left the Catholic Church because they haven't felt welcomed because of the struggles that they have with same-sex attraction or the struggles that they're having with gender ideology. They haven't felt welcomed in their local parish community. And so they have gone elsewhere, but where they have landed is in generally a Protestant church that tells them to embrace their lifestyle and that it's okay.
Yeah, they have a rainbow flag outside their
Yeah,
church.
and
something like that.
there's no call to conversion, right? I mean, when
Because everyone's called to conversion.
yeah, we all are. It doesn't
Myself included. Yeah.
we're all called to conversion. We're all called to turn away from sin and to sin no more. And so if we're in a parish community, whether it's Catholic or non-Catholic, and we're celebrating sin and we're saying that it's okay to embrace this lifestyle because it's who you are.
When's somebody going to
cringe a
say that
little
you
bit.
are more than what it is that you do? You're
Yeah.
more than who you're attracted
Right.
to.
I mean, it takes the whole idea of St. John Paul's theology of the body and just kind of throws it under the bus. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole point of the theology of the body is really the understanding of human dignity and where that originates from. It originates from the fact that I'm created in the image and likeness of God, not because of my sexual persuasions,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes we can kind of get lost in the weeds with that. And so, in answer to the question, I don't think those terms should be utilized at all. And again, whether it's LGBT Catholic, whether it's gay Catholic, whether it's I'm a Latin Mass Catholic, anything, because it creates division.
Because then you wonder where you belong. If I don't classify myself the way that you do I not belong in your church or what your expression of the church? And whatever it is that you are experiencing, however you might define yourself or the culture might define you, you belong in the church. Right next to me. You're worthy of love.
And the church, we have to be careful too, because sometimes we accuse the church of things that it's not saying or not doing. And what I mean by that is the church doesn't condemn the homosexual. It condemns the act. And so what it talks about is that it refers to it in the Catechism of the Catholic Church as a disordered attraction. This is a part of our fallen nature, just like sickness, disease, all those other things. These are things that we suffer through in life as a part of this fallen condition. But those things too are disordered. Sin is disordered. I know people who might have that type of attraction, and when they hear that term, they immediately think that there's something wrong with them. This is a hot button topic within the church. And
you got to tread lightly, just not because we're afraid to say what we need to say, but because you want it to be received in the way that we're offering it to.
Yeah. I think it is something that we need to unpack a little bit further in maybe its own episode for sure, somewhere down the line. It always, again, when you see these marches, when you see these demonstrations down in Washington, D.C., I always chuckle when you see the signs, because those who are supporting this talk about, you see the signs, God loves gay people, and they're not wrong. He does, right? It's absolutely 100% true. But then you see the other people on the other side of the fence when they're doing their demonstration that people are going to hell and in a handbasket with all of this stuff. And I would say, slow down, Sparky, because we're all sinners, and the likelihood of them going to hell might be just as likely as you going to hell if you are not doing something about your sin. I mean, I have people in my own family that struggle with that, And when I sit down and I have real conversations with them, I always tell them, I said, if you had a predisposition to drugs or alcohol, would you just give in to that? If I like, my family is very much predisposed to heart conditions. It's just horrible. Heart disease, heart failure, all sorts of heart issues. And I know that I'm predisposed to this.
Is that why you have no heart?
So, I could tell just by the grin that kind of came up from the side of your face that's exactly where you're going.
It's such a serious thing he's talking about.
Yeah.
Do I ruin it with a joke?
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
it's all right. Yeah. But like, if I have that predisposition and I know about it, am I going to then this is who I am. This is how God made me. And I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and I'm going to do whatever I want, even though it might jeopardize and increase the likelihood of heart disease or some other type of heart complication coming on. Or, this is, the alcohol runs in my family. I'm just going to embrace it. No, we fight against those things, right? Because we know that there's a predisposition, and we try to resist it. We try to overcome it. We look for coping strategies. We do that with everything we might be predisposed to, except when it comes to that type of sexual attraction.
Yeah, when it comes to sexuality, when we're talking about like expression and behavior and stuff like that, people think you can't put a limit on it. And it's like, well, we limit so many other things for our own good so that we can live meaningful, fulfilling lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's a big conversation. We'll have that soon.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it seems like you're on the same page.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I figured you would.
And I'm actually annoyed that you expressed that so well the way that you did, with zero thought ahead of time. That was that made me envious.
Yes. But again, the reason why I'm able to articulate it is because I find people in my own family struggling with those type of issues. I find friends struggling with those issues. So I've had the conversations.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I've had the conversation. Yeah. We go right into the church teaching of things and try to convert them that way. And you're not going to do it that way, because that's just, you have to, love stands the test of time for a reason. That's the charisma.
Yeah.
That is the heart of the gospel. And that conversation has to begin with love. People need to know that they are loved despite whatever it is that they might be struggling with, whatever type of attraction or difficulty or hardship or tribulation that they might be struggling with. That has to be the starting point. And from there, once you can get that person to believe that they're in fact loved not only by you but by God, then the door opens for transformation to take place. And that opens the door for them to be receptive to how this love relationship between God and them is played out. Morally through the church, sacramentally through the church, catechetically through the church. That's the only way it makes sense. We just jump right to the end game and we expect that we're going to browbeat people into conversion.
Yeah,
and
the truth will resonate with them so deeply that they won't be able to turn.
The truth will set you free, but the truth is that God loves you.
Mm-hmm. Tell the whole truth.
That's the truth.
Tell the whole
That's
truth.
the truth.
Yeah.
Nothing else that we do makes sense out of the context of the love of God, but sadly we don't start there.
Yeah, we bury the lead too often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we bury the lead because we ourselves have not experienced the love of God. I think that's the biggest problem with us today. We have sacramentalized Catholics without forming them in an encounter with the love of God. And again, if you don't believe me, just take a look at the statistics, because this is why people are leaving the church in droves. Because they don't have an encounter. The church is all about rules and regulations and things because the love of God has never been conveyed to them or experienced by them in a way that has led them to a profound love for God. Now, again, these people, I'm sure that they love God, but have they had a personal encounter with Him? A personal encounter with Christ Jesus, a personal encounter with the love of God. They might know that they're loved, but have they experienced it? Chances are no. For most of us, no. Even the people that are on Mass on Sunday, every single Sunday that they're here, a lot of them haven't experienced what they call that pre-evangelization. They haven't been led to this encounter with God. They've just kind of grown up in their faith and accepted it, and maybe it's a little bit routine and perfunctory, but you have to start with the love of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't give what you don't have.
That's right. That's right.
All right, what else we got?
So you weren't expecting all that out of that question.
I was not.
Yeah, look at that.
Not.
See? And you tell me I got to be prepared when I come in here. All right. So what's the next question? Because I don't. You wouldn't print them up for me because you didn't
You
want
have
me
them on
looking
your
at your
phone,
notes.
do you not?
Something happened. I X'd out of it. So
Okay.
just give me the second question.
right.
Oh no, here they are. Here they go. All right. Is Catholic guilt a real thing?
I think it's a joke that is overplayed.
It is. I agree.
I do think there is something about the Catholic experience that does have a focus on, I don't want to say sin first. I think it's the way it's been maybe poorly communicated. It's
Well, it
it's
gets
that
back-
finger wagging thing.
But it
Shame
gets
on
back
you.
to that rule thing,
Yeah.
right? You broke the rules, now you got to pay, now you
Right.
got to suffer, now you got to make amends. And again, if that's your experience, if that's what has been droned into you as
Yeah.
part of your formation, it's going to be heavy guilt.
But I don't think that guilt is necessarily a bad thing. We
Guilt
kind
is
of
not a bad thing. Shame is a bad thing.
yes. I feel like yes, and it's not even a matter of semantics. You're right. Shame is one thing, guilt is another. Guilt can having an understanding of the things that I have done wrong and that I can start again and that I can live fully in the love that Jesus has for me. I would never get to that end unless I was aware that I am sinful
Yeah.
and that I have turned away from God. I have turned away from His will. I think there was a certain time. It could have been generations in the church where that was overly communicated. You know, like
I agree.
Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. That kind of I am so wretched inside that even if someone tells you you can be redeemed, you think I'm beyond redemption.
Well, that's a Protestant hymn, right?
Yes, but it's not. Here's the thing: it's not untrue.
Yeah.
You know, we are wretched to some degree. We have done wretched
redeemable.
things, but we're redeemable.
Right.
You know, so we've kind of changed the language that saved a soul like me. I understand it's not a Catholic hymn. The Catholic version of it that I've seen in our hymnals is that saved a soul like me.
Yeah.
Well, what's the condition of my soul? It's a soul that needed saving. So it bugs me when people say, when it goes back to Catholic guilt, that their life was just so riddled with Catholic guilt that they have kind of disconnected themselves from the church and they have the whole kind of self-flagellation thing going on.
Yeah. Which you know well.
I do. I don't think it's necessarily a negative part of the human experience. I think we've all done things that we have to reckon with and we can't change the past.
Yeah.
And if you're just stuck in your guilt and it turns into shame and it turns into despair, that's a very bad thing.
Well-
and God does not desire that for anybody.
Yeah, but see, I think that's where you need to draw the distinction, because I think people who have maybe left the church because of this guilt issue, I think if you take the time to explore it with them a little bit more and to kind of dive into it with them, they're more leaving because they feel ashamed or they've been shamed.
I think that's true. I also think that people just don't like being told what to do.
Well,
The Catholic faith does have a focus on sin is real. Sin is real.
Yeah.
When we depict Jesus, we put him on a cross.
Right.
We put his body. We put a corpus on that cross. Where if you go into maybe a Protestant church, you don't have that.
That's true.
Because we don't want to focus on what it took for Jesus
Yeah.
to actually die for your sins. And so I think that people are just resistant to sin talk in a lot of cases. And they lean on this, I have this Catholic guilt that follows me around. That might really be true. And it might be more to what you're saying. Ultimately, I think that people just don't want to think about the things that they don't want to reckon. They don't want to reckon with sin in their life,
right? Because we want to sweep it under the rug, right, rather than deal it, bring it out to the light and
Right.
expose it. But I do think guilt and the shame piece are very important distinctions, because guilt is a good thing because it moves us to conversion. Guilt leads to conversion and transformation. Shame does not. Shame just leads to wallowing and head hanging and browbeating and all of that stuff. And that's where the devil really wants to kind of keep you. Because if we're ashamed, of what we've done and wallowing in that, we're never going to look up and see the face of God. But guilt can convict us. I mean, when we talk about the Holy Spirit convicting us, this is what it is. This is all part of our conscience. This is where the guilt comes from. The guilty feelings that arise within us are a natural response to the love of God dwelling within us, right? It's the Holy Spirit that is convicting us to help us to see how we have wounded ourselves by turning away from the love of God in that moment or through that sin. And guilt is the response that leads us to, I don't want to do that again. Right. So it
I don't
is
want to
good.
hurt that person again. I don't want to hurt myself
right.
again.
So I think sometimes when we hear that term Catholic guilt, I think sometimes what we're really talking about isn't so much the guilt piece, but really the shame piece. We're just having a hard time defining it as such.
I agree with you to a point. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people lean on it too much and they use it as an excuse to
I agree with you.
stop worshiping
Yeah,
the practice
I do.
of their faith.
I agree with you
And
there.
I think it's a dangerous game when we start thinking we've had experiences that we have not had, but other people have claimed to have.
Right.
And, I grew up Catholic. You grew up Catholic. We had the same experience. Well, maybe not. So I think people use it as like they use it as like a get out of jail free card. I grew up Catholic, but they laid too much Catholic guilt on me. And it's like, maybe we just told you what the reality of sin does to you.
Right.
And you didn't like it.
Yeah. It goes back to the earlier conversation about the whole LGBTQ thing.
Okay.
You know, I mean, some of the people I know who have left the church have left because of those feelings. And I don't necessarily know that it's guilt. I think it's more of a sense of shame. And when they,
And if that's true, that would be significant.
and yeah,
because that's serious business.
But when they leave, they go to a church that allows them to continue to live actively in that lifestyle, free of that shame, you know, and that guilt. And I think that's what attracts them to it. So I mean, I see that, and again, I'm just using that as an example. So I do think that you are right there. You know, that sometimes for some people, when they leave, it's because of that feelings. They don't want to be told what they have to do and what they can't.
Well, think about why we have confession at all. Just the fact that we even have the sacrament of reconciliation means that we have to, on an ongoing basis, reckon with who we are as people.
Yeah.
And
because we
people
fail
will just
miserably.
play that off as being, the Catholic Church wants you to feel guilty. No. The Catholic Church wants you to be healed.
Yeah, to be healed of the guilt, to be healed of the shame, to remove all of that.
But you have to know, how sick you are to seek the healing that you need and that the church wants to give you. Yeah. So tell the whole story. You know, I think about the beginning of the Mass, you know, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. Yes, I'm at fault.
Yeah.
That's the reality of things.
Right.
So,
and again, I think what you talk about there, I think the Mass is a beautiful example of really how the church treats sin. When we gather together at Mass, and one of the first things that we do is we acknowledge the fact that we are not worthy to be standing in the presence of God because of our failure to love Him and to love others as we are called to.
And what's His response? He says, "Come forth and receive me."
That's right. Receive me.
That's the whole story.
Right. That's the story. Right. So he's going to receive you. He's going to allow you to experience that love because he wants to give himself. He wants to be in communion with us.
Yeah.
It's grounded in love. And until we begin to take a look at how our actions can be a refusal or a turning away from the love of God, a refusal to love Him or to accept His love and to love others, we're gonna sit back and just continue to relish in the behavior that we want to do. To hell with guilt.
What do you think?
Well, I know we have a couple more questions I think on our list to kind of get to, but I think for time's sake, maybe we'll just couch those and set them off for the next episode, so we just don't.
And I'm going to start prepping an episode on Catholic movies because I think that would be fun.
I think that would be good. Of course, I'll have to spend a lot of time.
Well, you have time.
Watching.
You're here on a Friday at noon. You have some time. Your leisurely lifestyle, with how much time you spend on this pergola that you built.
But no, that's true. I mean, which I sat under all morning long today as I was working from home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Working from home.
Well, no, I
just did air quotes. You can't see it,
I know.
but I did. Yeah.
But I want my employers to know, like, I'm up at 6:00 in the morning on a Saturday, out on a Friday, outside under my pergola by 6:30 with a cup of tea in my hand, with the laptop, working away.
Okay, good. Do you want a medal? All right. We will see you next week.
Yeah, and hopefully this has been again, the Coffee Talk episodes seem to be a little bit more popular.
This got heavier than I expected.
Yeah, but it did get a little heavy, so I think it's good to kind of like break so that way we're not too heavy going through this. Because they are supposed to be lighter, but hopefully you enjoy the conversation.
And tell us if you like these episodes too. Yeah. If you tell us like what format of episode you've been really enjoying,
or
and
questions that you want us to take a look at too, because we're happy to do that. We're game for anything. Christine loves to do research, and I just love to come in and talk about it. So we'll do whatever you want us to do. So,
And we'll see you next week.
all right, God bless.